Have you ever felt an overwhelming surge of emotion in a church? So intense, it almost feels like it's controlling you. You look around and everyone seems transformed, crying, trembling, shouting, I'm saved. But have you ever wondered why some people respond instantly while others remain unmoved? Today, we're diving deep into a phenomenon that has shaped millions of lives, sometimes for good, sometimes in ways most people never question: the altar call, and more importantly, the dark psychology behind it. The altar call is a ritual. It's an invitation, an emotional high stakes moment where a congregation is asked to come forward, declare faith, or make a life changing commitment. On the surface, it seems simple, even noble. But behind the simplicity lies a complex interplay of psychology, social pressure, and emotional manipulation. At its core, the altar call leverages one of the most powerful forces in human behavior: social conformity. Humans are wired to follow the crowd. When a group of people experiences intense emotion, our brains instinctively mimic that energy. Psychologists call this emotional contagion. Essentially, we catch emotions in those around us, whether it's joy, fear, or despair. One of the most potent tools in the altar call is the deliberate orchestration of emotional highs and lows. Pastors or speakers often build sermons that swing from fear to hope, sin to salvation, despair to joy. Imagine this. The preacher describes a life of endless suffering. If you stray from faith, you feel fear. Then, suddenly, they promise redemption, love, and eternal peace, but only if you act. That emotional roller coaster isn't accidental. It's strategic. Psychologists call this the peak end rule. The intensity of the peak moment, coupled with a strong emotional ending, leaves a lasting impression. Your brain remembers the drama more than the logic, and in that moment, the altar call feels like the only rational choice. The altar call also uses public commitment as a psychological lever. When you walk down that aisle in front of hundreds of people, you're making a public statement. Humans have an inherent need to appear consistent. Once you take that step, your mind works overtime to justify it. Even if you're uncertain inside, your brain doesn't want to admit, I just made a huge emotional mistake in front of everyone. So you convince yourself it was the right choice. This is called commitment and consistency bias. Once you cross that line, the pressure to maintain that image can dominate decisions long after you leave the church. Another hidden element is suggestibility. In a high emotion, high stakes environment, the human brain becomes highly malleable. Studies show that people under emotional stress are more likely to accept suggestions without critical evaluation. During an altar call, the combination of music, lighting, collective emotion, and persuasive language creates a perfect storm. Your mind becomes vulnerable, and in that state, you are more likely to take immediate action, even if, under normal circumstances, you might hesitate or refuse. Fear is one of the oldest, most effective tools in human influence. From ancient tribes to modern politics, fear triggers immediate, often irrational action. In the context of an altar call, fear is subtly woven into sermons. Warnings about sin, eternal punishment, and personal failure are not just theological, they are psychological triggers. Fear pushes people toward the promise of salvation, creating urgency. Combined with hope and relief at the altar, it's a deeply compelling motivator. Humans crave social approval. Once someone responds to an altar call, the reaction of the congregation acts as instant positive reinforcement. Applause, cheering, crying. These are rewards encoded by the brain's dopamine system. You literally feel good after walking down the aisle. This creates a social reward loop. Your brain starts to associate the act of responding with pleasure and acceptance. Over time, this can reinforce lifelong behavior patterns. Even if the original decision was heavily influenced by emotion rather than thoughtful conviction, none of this is inherently evil. Many people find genuine comfort, hope, and transformation through altar calls, but the psychology behind it raises important questions. When does persuasion become manipulation? When does emotional influence cross ethical lines? If the goal is to guide someone to faith, using fear, social pressure, and suggestibility might achieve results. But at what cost autonomy? Awareness doesn't diminish faith. It simply encourages informed, conscious decision making. So, how can you recognize these influences? Start by observing your emotional state. Are your decisions being driven by fear, excitement, or pressure? Take time to reflect before committing. Ask yourself, am I choosing this for me or because the moment is manipulating me? Understanding these dynamics doesn't make the experience less meaningful. It empowers you to engage intentionally with awareness. The altar call is a human ritual deeply rooted in psychology. When approached thoughtfully, it can inspire real, lasting change, but only if you remain conscious of the forces at play. The altar call is more than a spiritual moment. It's a masterclass in psychology, social dynamics, and human emotion. The next time you witness or participate in one, notice the subtle forces at work. Recognize the highs, the fear, the crowd, and the pressure. And most importantly, remember that awareness is power. True transformation doesn't come from a single dramatic moment. It comes from conscious, thoughtful, and consistent choices over time. Have you ever noticed how a single moment in a church can change someone's life forever? Understanding the psychology behind it doesn't take away the meaning. It gives you control. Because the ultimate power lies not in the altar, the crowd, or the sermon. It lies in the mind that chooses with clarity.